Hola, buenos dias. No, buenas noches. Yes, yeah, buenas noches. It's time for Block Talk. We're on Bitcoin Block 432880. We got a couple sponsors to talk about first. I do apologize. I've been talking in Spain and then the Netherlands here with Bitcoiners and crypto junkies for like the last 2 weeks straight, and I have no voice left. But I'll do what I can to get through this final interview before going home. So one of our sponsors is Crypto Commerce. I guess you guys are going to be Crypto Tech soon, though.
Yeah, rebranding to Crypto Tech.
Yeah, but that'll be a new URL.
I
hope so.
CryptoTech.io.
Yeah, but you guys are still doing the same thing, payment solutions, training, online security. Yeah, you guys are maybe working with a bank soon, hopefully.
Yeah, no, we're just arranging that at the moment, and nothing else is changing. Just the rebrand.
Oh yeah, and look at this awesome team. Since it's got a shaved head, and there's one extra spot here. There might be a new person there. We'll see shortly. So we got Bittrex. They're our other sponsor. Bill and Richie take good care of Block Talk. They like the show, but they also they like the cryptocurrency community. Like they do a lot of things for us. On Capitol Hill, they're kind of representing. They're meeting with the fintech space, helping with regulators, and they got a lot of cool currencies. We got the main event here today too, Jumbucks. The one where we always like to talk about on Block Talk. It's our favorite. And yeah, Angelox is pretty excited. So, as usual, if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask, and we'll get on with the show here. So, hi, I'm Alex.
And I'm Luke.
That's Luke. And I'm here in Spain with Luke. He's working here at Crypto Commerce. Crypto Tech. I'm already losing it. Yeah. But no, while we were here, we figured we'd link up with one of the other developers of Jumbucks, because you guys have a lot of really cool developments coming out. And I think it's kind of important that everyone's up to date with it, because we're doing some cool stuff. So, but we kind of have the one that we all want to hear from. It's been a while. I think he did a podcast back in 2014, and that was really the only time we've heard from him. But we're happy to have Julian Yap on the show today. Hi, Julian.
Hi, everyone.
How you doing today?
Pretty good. Kind of disappointed my laptop isn't powerful enough to actually handle Google Hangouts.
Well,
so I'm kind of in between laptops at the moment because I'm in between jobs.
Not in a bad way though, right? You have another job lined up.
I've got a job lined up, but I had to hand in my old kick-ass laptop, and now I'm stuck with my 2010 one, which isn't as good.
Yeah, I think I'm due for an upgrade as well.
My phone is actually more powerful, I think. So I'm actually using my crappy phone for this Google Hangout.
Well, we appreciate you coming on the show today. And I'll say right now, guys, this isn't the usual Block Talk where I maybe am a bit more critical. Like, I'm completely biased on this one because Julian and Luke are my good friends, and Jumbucks has kind of been the basis of the fan base for Block Talk since the beginning. You guys are kind of cool enough to let me make the Block Talk chat room, and just the whole mentality of what Jumbucks stands for is really what Block Talk tries to be an extension of that, right? So there's a pretty rich history of Jumbucks, Ubiq, and before that, Coin Markets Coin. So Julian, do you want to give us kind of the rundown of how you started the coin, or even how you got into crypto too, if you want to go further back?
Yeah, sure. That sounds good. Not totally good at talking on the spot, but I'll give it a shot. So let's see. I started getting involved with crypto probably late 2013. Mostly observing, the crypto market, and when Bitcoin was kind of rising, from probably early on 2013, which was around 100, well, I think probably even $70 to $800 to $1,000. So it was all, very much a time of confusion. But I guess similarly to other people, I'd heard of Bitcoin, but kind of just blew it off, mostly as, some kind of just another one of those currency schemes, or
like a fad or something.
Yeah, kind of like a fad that I guess in my thinking was probably just another centralized thing like PayPal or whatever, and never really looking into this whole mining. Although I did try to start up a node very early on, but even back then it was probably, maybe the blockchain was like 10 gigabytes, and I said, no thanks. Decentralization can kind of wait. So yeah, I did buy a small amount when early on. Around that time, it was about $800, and then kind of like hung on to that, and tried to learn as much as I could in 2014. But in retrospect, it was a very bad time to kind of get involved, because there was lots of market confusion. People launching altcoins which are overhyped. A lot of them aren't really around anymore. So I remember, kind of getting involved with some of them, like Ultracoin, and then thinking, where's the community, or what's going on with this coin? But eventually that one died. It was largely overhyped. But also, it was back in the day where exchanges were kind of very shady as well. So now things have slowly progressed to be better. We still have similar exchanges around, such as Poloniex, but the quality and I guess the amount of people using it and the amount of funds they have has increased. So it's kind of more distributed to, I guess, regular people. So in a way, well, so yeah, Jumpbucks was originally launched in, I guess, 2014. So, that was under the name of CoinMarkets Coin. So largely, I guess it's also followed the progress of how I've come to, interact with cryptocurrencies in general. So, at the time it was like, proof of stake coins were launching. Well, there was proof of work period, which may have been like something like 30,000 blocks. So it's kind of like how I designed it at the beginning, with 30,000 blocks of proof of work, which is roughly 2 weeks, and then moving on to a proof of stake period. So,
well, one thing that was interesting though about the launch was that it was very public and well advertised before, and there was also a period where there was no mining rewards, right? Like, so there was kind of time for people to actually get their miners up and running. So there's full hash rate, I guess, before the rewards started coming out. So very fair launch, right?
Yeah, that's right. So that was another thing too. Like, I wanted to basically launch a coin, as fair as I could, which meant, publicizing it early, and I even organized having pools ready to go. So, a couple of people in, the Coin Markets IRC channel, I recruited them to set up pools beforehand, so that people could register and wouldn't have to scramble and so forth. So yeah, the announcement was up. I think it was about a week beforehand as well, so that people could be ready as well as the start date. So I guess around that time too, a lot of things going on were, insta mining of coins, having private pools so that they could get most of the coins, secure most of the coins for themselves. So, that was something I wanted to counteract and, I guess be an example.
Lots of ninja launches and well, everyone was doing proof of work cycles, and then I think there was maybe a couple ICO coins too, but not as many as we're seeing now. Now ICO is like commonplace. Everybody's doing it.
Yeah.
But I also remember like the part of the mantra of it was you want it to be usable, and like everyone was saying their coin was like, oh, this is like something to be traded or something. Like that was really the only use case for it. So it was like, oh, we want to keep it off exchanges as long as possible, or not even try to put it on exchange, that sort of thing. So there was a lot of interesting, I guess, history, I guess, behind it there. Like you weren't trying to do a pump and dump. You just wanted something that people would actually value and want to work with, or I guess do something. Yeah.
I mean, even now, I guess the challenge is trying to make an actual coin with kind of good distribution. So not a coin which is held by around 10 people, which is still very difficult. So I mean, at the time, the peak registrations for the actual one of the mining pools was like 300 people. So distribution with mining was very good, but you find crypto goes through cycles. So it's like we had a lot of altcoin people back in 2014, but then 2015 rolls around and Bitcoin slowly dumps down to $200. So that original distribution that you had is becomes centralized, despite your best efforts. So I mean, it's still a challenge, but I guess moving towards this new coin Ubiq, reintroducing proof of work, trying to get miners involved, looking to get better distribution again.
Well, yeah, like that's like a real interesting concept that you're trying to bring forward. And I know you wrote a little post, I think it was a Medium article about, a lot of developers just like to, when their project fails or they get bored with it, they drop it and they go to a new thing and they're like, oh yeah, no, that was just an experiment. But like you're actually trying to carry the value forward. So it's like you had those initial distributions, you had this proof of stake kind of like, I don't want to call it a lull, but because you guys actually were doing innovations to the proof of stake too. But then now going back to proof of work again, it's like you're going through another distribution cycle, but you're carrying all that value forward again. So it's like nobody is losing out on this. Like everybody's, everybody feels like it's a very fair system. And like you said from the beginning, you wanted to make a fair coin, and I think you're continuing that mantra very well.
Yeah. That's another big difference too. Like even though it could be possible for me to have launched 10 coins, but it's not my mentality to. I wouldn't say it's fair to do that approach, since a person can only have, or a developer can only have a certain amount of focus throughout their crypto career. So you'll find too, like even current coins where a developer has launched maybe even 3, like some of them being delisted from exchanges, and some of them, you know, have very low volume. So, and most of the time, you know, the coin that they're not focused on has no development at all, or, you know, yeah, not really to name names and so forth, but, you know, you'll be able to find them.
Well, yeah, and you can see evidence of like how sad the amount of development is when something like Azure just kind of breathes new life into all these coins, and like, oh yeah, look, they merged this like copy paste code over, and that means it's actively developed. Yeah, what a great thing. But I guess we can kind of start going into like the new coin, like if you want to talk about like the code base and maybe some of the improvements and why you chose to move from both the Bitcoin code base and the pure coin proof of stake.
Yeah, sure. So ultimately, you know, it's been a kind of a long thought out decision, but, you know, we've been wanting to change code bases to, you know, something that's more modern. So, you know, right now we're on this proof of stake code base, which is, you know, largely Blackcoin, originally forked from Shadow Cash. But, you know, we kind of want to build more kind of applications on the actual blockchain. So, you know, we found that, and also the other thing too is like the code bases that are on this proof of stake, you know, it's all very random. There's no, you know, people who do make changes, you know, they tend to just do large, big code dumps into the GitHub, and, you know, people tend to not really follow coding practices. So it's more like, you know, these code bases are kind of like, you know, create them and then you're pretty much, you know, clones of other proof of stake coins. So
Frankenstein coins almost.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, like, people make, you know, wallet changes here and there, but, you know, it's nothing really innovative. So whereas, you know, we want to, you know, move something to you know, something more actively developed and more actively supported. So, you know, something like Ethereum kind of, you know, fulfilled that quota for us. So, you know, it basically allowed us to, you know, once we have a stable platform, you know, through smart contracts, we can, you know, deploy, you know, additional apps on the actual network without having to, you know, change the underlying code base and, you know, making people upgrade wallets, you know, just for protocol changes all the time.
Yeah, well, like if you want to build a service on top of the Bitcoin code base, you're really just limited to like the opcodes. Like, and then you could do something like Floor and Coin where you just have a bunch of extra opcodes, and then you can kind of work with that. But you're really just like duct taping shit to like a tire and hoping it works.
That's the big thing is the Bitcoin code base handles currency really well, but it wasn't really built to do other stuff. I mean, the blockchain can handle doing plenty of things, but that particular code base didn't really have in mind. So it's sort of the foundations, they're very restrictive. And you can bolt shit on, duct tape shit on, but it's not the most efficient way of doing things. And these new code bases have a lot of the non-currency features in mind when they are being developed, Ethereum being the key player there. And like the Ethereum virtual machine is a very powerful technology to be introducing into, in our case, Ubiq. So we see a lot of potential there. A lot of non-currency use cases, a lot easier to build new applications running on top of the chain. You know, smart contracts and just more complex services in general.
So this you know, whole smart contract system, you know, it allows us to build more applications and not really be stuck towards, you know, one particular do or die purpose for the coin. So if we take an example, if a coin is their main purpose is to make like a decentralized media platform or something like that. If that fails, then then they've got nothing
The currency kind of
to
fails.
fall back on.
Yeah.
To fall back on, basically. So it allows us to have different avenues to pursue.
Well, and when we were talking with Wings a couple hours ago, what they were saying was the EVM not only is like present in like Ethereum, but also Rootstock is going to have the same sort of system in place. Like it's built to be very similar. So now any application that you can build for Bitcoin or for Ethereum or for Ethereum Classic, we can import into Ubiq quite easily. So it's like we can have everything else, but at the same time, we're free to innovate on our own, and then also have like the benefits of like it's a general purpose blockchain. Like if we have Augur on our chain, like the full-fledged version of Augur, you're gonna have a pretty high gas price because you have all that extra chain weight of Augurs. But now, like if we want to run our own apps, then or we kind of are segmenting, I guess, in a way, it's almost better that like Ethereum Classic exists because now it's like you have twice as much gas available, so gas prices are cheaper for everyone. But you guys both kind of were playing around with beta applications for Jumbucks. Like I know, Luke, you were doing a little bit of Whois, and that was kind of you're trying to figure out, I guess, how to do it in an elegant way, and then we're backtracking and
yeah. Well, that was the thing. It was sort of I know what problem I want to solve, and there's plenty of ways to solve that problem. But then the challenge was how do I solve that problem on a restricted code base? And that was where it got quite tricky. Whereas this stuff's much easier to do on an Ethereum-based blockchain, and yeah, as well as a lot of other things that we're playing around with and working on.
Yeah, no, I think we got some pretty good ideas. I know I'm excited to actually try some Solidity out myself to actually make use of it. So we got some questions here from Bittrex Bill earlier in the day, who we all know very well, but Bill is a good friend of Jumbucks, I guess. He appreciates us, but we help him out. We try and give him advice, but at the same time, he hangs out in the Slack a bit. He's good. So he's asking, what are the innovations you guys have made to the ETH platform? Like, why your own fork rather than have an asset on the main ETH?
Should we get Julian?
Yeah, I'll start with the first question. So another thing we've done too is rather than straight launch the coin, we've put out several alpha builds so that we can kind of learn and adapt the network before it's actually live, so that people can try it out, learn, especially in the community. And we can kind of observe, what needs to be changed or what does or doesn't work. So one thing I found too was when I launched the first alpha was the difficulty changes. Were taking a long time to actually reach the target. So one of the changes I made was to increase the block time to 88 seconds. So the difficulty changes when I was mining, with just CPUs were taking a long time in that, blocks were being produced, very quickly. So the target time of 88 seconds, took a few hours to actually stabilize. So, when I looked at the Ethereum algorithm, I saw that it was very kind of very simple, where it only looked at the the parent block, which is, the previous block, and decided then whether or not to increase or decrease the difficulty. So you can actually see this with, I guess, in the charts, like when, recently they've had some, I guess, DDoS attacks or DOS attacks on the network. So, when miners drop off, you can see like it's kind of like basically looks like steps going down as the difficulty goes down. So it's not very dynamic. So the first change that we put in was to change the difficulty retargeting algorithm so that it was similar to what we've learned through various altcoins, because the original Bitcoin algorithm is similar, where it doesn't retarget very often. So that one only retargets every 2 weeks. So any coin which launches today, that basically won't work. So the first code was to modify the difficulty algorithm to be a port of Digibyte's DigiShield. So that basically works on looking at a window of blocks and kind of increasing and decreasing based on that 30-minute window, as opposed to a smaller window where it's very kind of inaccurate. So in this case, it says the target time for 30 minutes worth of blocks should be this time, and then it targets based on that.
So,
and we've run some tests, and that worked out really well. So it's more suited towards I guess anticipating the chain to have smaller hash rate, as well as potentially miners jumping in and out more often than, say, a larger network.
well, yeah, I think that's kind of well, maybe it's not a problem for Bitcoin, at least not right now. Well, but
the difficulty adjustment is a serious problem.
Yeah. But like it sounds like it's far more dynamic with DigiShield. Like instead of looking at, say, the last, or every hour, it looks at that hour and says, is it long enough? It looks at like the pool of the last hour. So it's adjusting every block by using the last hour's worth of blocks. Yeah, that's well, it seems like a way smarter way to do it. So maybe Satoshi was just thinking, oh, well, this works fine enough. And this is kind of where I'm thinking, like, okay, like maybe Bitcoin wasn't built to be a small scale network, and maybe it's not built to scale for a big enough network too. But Ethereum maybe isn't scaled to be a small network either. Like below a certain hash rate, it could be rather unstable. So it sounds like this is a bit more stability. Like you're adjusting for fluctuations that on a small scale are quite a large percentage of the hash rate, but on a larger scale, it's negligible.
Yeah. So ultimately, with these proof of work coins, the ultimate security is having a lot of hash rate. So something like Ethereum, you'd have to have thousands upon thousands of GPUs to attack the actual proof of work. I mean, there are other cases too, like you could also attack their nodes, which would kind of impact their proof of work as well. But yeah, stuff like Bitcoin, it has the different kind of network ecosystem where it's kind of had that period where it's kind of grown through organically through CPUs and then GPUs and ASIC mining. So these days they won't actually have that large fluctuation of hash power because now you have miners which to actually take down or take off their hash rate, they'd have to fully shut down a building or something like that. So for them, for Bitcoin, the 2-week difficulty adjustment doesn't really impact it. But having said that, Ethereum being a big network, it has actually had certain challenges. So it's interesting to observe, like the counterpart network, Ethereum Classic, when that was launched on Poloniex, that took a fair amount of hash power, which impacted their difficulty. So you could kind of see that too in real time, as well as the current denial of service attacks having some impact as well. So the thing that kind of saves it there is they have while they have a pretty simple difficulty adjustment, they have a large network, as well as the shorter block times mean you don't really see large fluctuation in the block times.
Yeah, for the most part, they're pretty consistent. I think there's been a couple large gaps. Like somebody had a screenshot of 50 seconds today, but for the most part, it's staying below 15, which, if you're comparing it to Bitcoin, is nothing. I think the timing though is pretty interesting with the Augur launch, and like we had the other day when we're having the DOS attacks, it was right around the first blood ICO. So it's interesting the timing on a lot of these. You did another improvement too, which was with reorganizations, right? Like that's kind of another vector for attacks, or part of a 51% attack.
Yeah, that's correct. So this was, I guess, kind of brought up too recently, whereas the difficulty adjustment one was kind of something definitely necessary. Through observing the first, launching their alpha networks. So this one is, it's more geared towards some more recent attacks, where it's kind of like 51% attacks, where people can kind of start their own side network, but then also cause replay attacks by introducing their network, which may be even thousands of blocks behind. But so long as it has more difficulty built into the network, it can cause like a large scale reorganization. So that's what we were seeing with some of these other smaller network chains. So one of the countermeasures they did was to increase the deposit time, or the deposit blocks, into exchanges such as Bittrex, like increasing it to 1,000. But people were still able to defeat this by making a longer chain, but thousands of blocks. So it was basically a losing battle. So I had to think about this kind of challenge, and I guess one of my early thinkings was to limit this reorganization depth. So basically, with proof of work, you want the consensus to be that generally, the strongest public consensus, and you don't want people to have their hash power wasted. So having said that, logically you should have, it could be said that 1 day's worth of anything beyond, say 1 day's worth of the latest blocks should not be reorganized, because that should be fairly publicly publicized and so forth. So I I actually emailed Vitalik about this, you know, to see what his thoughts were, and then he kind of gave me the scenario of you'll still have this edge case where some nodes will be, if you did have a reorganization, you'd have some nodes which would be seeing block 1001 and then some nodes seeing block 1000. So essentially you'll have like a a split network, and then be like some kind of permanent fork that would have to be resolved somehow. So he actually recommended this I guess scheme that he kind of wrote about previously. I think back in late 2014 or so. So he kind of called it exponential subjective scoring. So basically it works by comparing when the two, I guess when the two nodes, when the second node has been kind of introduced to the network, adding like another factor, which would be like kind of scoring the difficulty and basing that on the time it was introduced. So it's kind of penalizing a chain based on how further back it would want to reorganize, basically. So yeah, it's kind of hard to explain, but
yeah, I'm pulling up the email right now, actually. But it was very interesting to I guess, because when the network forks, like you basically, how do you resolve which fork is longer the quickest? So he was saying, like, I guess you can put a score on each one. So based on like the cumulative difficulty of each chain. So that was kind of like a real elegant way of improving it. So here, I'll share my screen, and maybe we'll read it aloud, because it is also goes to show how supportive like the Ethereum developers are, this sort of thing. Yeah, the problem with limiting reorganization depth to 1 day is that there's an attack vector where someone does a 51% that some nodes will see being day 1 minus 1 second, and some nodes will see being day 1 plus 1 second, leading to a permanent split. One approach that could work is what I call exponentially subjective scoring, which is defined as follows. Suppose you are on a chain, the score is S1, which is the score for the total difficulty. Suppose there appears to be a new longer chain. If you compute the common ancestor of the two chains, so like what block height are you going from, you can give that one a score of S underscore A. So he has the math formula here. I'm not going to read it out because that would be brutal. But you would then be able to determine, I guess, between S1 and S2 that, yeah, your cumulative difficulty would immediately help a node identify which chain was longer. So it's kind of interesting that it was never implemented in Ethereum to begin with. But possibly this could be something that's merged back. We'll see. They might be going to proof of stake and not really give a shit, but who knows? But the most important thing at the end here is what he says is like, I'm actually really kind of excited to see this mechanism tried out in a chain. So yeah, like I said, it goes to show they're really, I guess, for innovation in Ethereum. It seems like they don't look down on anyone creating another chain, or they like to see innovation overall, and to have the spread of the EVM. It looks good for Ethereum regardless. So, no, that was a really cool email to get back from him. I'm glad that you did email him, Julian.
Yeah, that's another thing too. Like, I found that, having, I guess the whole learning experience of blockchains and so forth, it's pretty difficult. to try and get into with Bitcoin, because it's like they don't like to make a lot of changes. So and B, it's very difficult it's a big learning curve. So I guess for them to actually get new developers, there's kind of animosity towards that, because they don't like altcoins, and B, the learning curve is way too high. So I found that trying to actually learn Bitcoin technologies was pretty difficult, because you jump onto the development group and you'd ask them certain questions, and they'd be like, oh, there's your free support or whatever. Whereas I see the Ethereum network is they're trying to be more open towards third-party developers, and even extending towards Ethereum forks as well. Even like last week, Gavin, I forget his last name, but
Andrew.
not like
Gavin Wood. Yeah,
Gavin Wood. He's the one who maintains, or he's the main developer for Parity, which is like an Ethereum node, but written in the Rust language. So he actually added expands to their code base, which is pretty much unforeseen kind of thing. So it'd be kind of like the equivalent of the Bitcoin core devs just the next day saying, okay, Bitcoin core now has another flag so that it's compatible with Litecoin or something like that. So which is entirely possible that they could add that flag, but it's not their mentality to be open to different forks.
I guess that's one of the delays right now, is because the majority of the code base right now is written, or majority of nodes are running Golang, I think, and that's where they're having some of these DDoS vectors that are being exploited.
Yeah, that's right. So that's another thing that we're observing carefully, because they're actively putting in some code changes, so that's kind of pushing back the original launch of our Ubiq network, as we kind of observe them making some core changes to the EVM so that it's more stable.
Well, and Golang is kind of your bread and butter, right? Like in your professional life, you work quite frequently with it, or it's just one of your favorite languages?
Yeah, it's probably my favorite language. It's kind of like it's originally developed by Google. So in my day job, I do like systems engineering. So it's like a language which is well suited towards networking and kind of fast compilation. Also works very well with multiple platforms and cross compiling. So it has specific things about it, such as it's built to have fast compilation. So changes that you do make easy, fast to test out. But I guess the one of the drawbacks is that it's not as low level as something like Rust, which is more of a competitor, something like C++, whereas Go slots kind of in between in terms of performance, between like a scripting language like Python and a lower level language like Rust.
Okay, so you don't have to do like hard declarations or anything. Like the software the compiler makes a lot more assumptions, so you're not writing gratuitous amounts of code to accomplish the same thing, right?
Yeah, so it it handles its own memory management. other things which make it slightly slower than, but more developer friendly.
Oh, for sure. No, and that's kind of cool. Like, I remember you were posting that you were hanging out in the Ethereum Slack and the Golang channel, or Ethereum Go channel. So like, there's kind of different strokes for different folks, and that was, I guess, one of the benefits of Ethereum too, is that they developed three different versions of their node software, so they could resist these attacks, albeit they're kind of limping, but they're still decentralized in the fact that not everyone's running the same centralized piece of code. Yeah, no, it's interesting enough.
Yeah, and although the alpha builds have been based on the Golang implementation, we are looking at parity and that sort of stuff. One of my concerns is that they might also be vulnerable to some of these attacks, so we need to review these quite seriously. Obviously, Geth being the most used one, it's a lot easier to spot these bugs when things go down. But that doesn't necessarily mean these other ones are secure against these different attacks. So we're looking at saying as well. We're looking at a different. We're looking at all the clients, and we should have quite a few different ones available on launch, not just Geth. I guess.
This is kind of one of the benefits of Ubiq over I guess Ethereum, because Ethereum's like that bleeding edge of development. So when they push out a new change, then there can be these exploits. Whereas if we're always kind of taking a step after it's been proven, like Ethereum's leaping before they look, and then we're able to look at where they leaped and then do the same. So it's kind of interesting. Well, it allows us to be a lot more stable. And I know one person I invited on the show. He might come here at some point. Chris Hansen. He was pretty. I guess he was after the whole DAO thing happened in the fork, and he's just like a lot of institutions are having a hard time looking at Ethereum because they like stability, and that doesn't look like stability when there's all this crazy shit going down. Like we in the crypto community have kind of like moved past it already. It's like, oh, it's ancient history, even though it was only 2 months ago or however long it was. I can't even remember now. But yeah, it's kind of funny. So I think to have more versions of the Ethereum language out there is really interesting. And I guess Jumpbox can claim they're the first Bitcoin code base switching to the Ethereum chain, right? Like nobody has done that before.
I mean, if you're swapped to tokens, as far as I know, this is the first like swap of an existing coin to actual Ethereum code base based coin.
Yeah.
I could be wrong there. It's hard to keep up with everything, but I don't know any others.
It's definitely going to be the first without an actual pre-mine. So, I mean, that's another one of the benefits to like someone like one of the questions I had was, what why not just use Ethereum Classic? Whereas people may not want to use Ethereum Classic because the actual holders of ETC, those originally Ethereum holders anyway, as well as the DAO hacker who has probably about $5 million worth of ETC. So I guess that's the one of the selling points is that our chain is doesn't have the pre-mine and doesn't have that weird distribution of that Ethereum Classic has.
Yeah, and it has 2 years of distribution, which is quite a major thing.
Yeah. Like, well, you can call it a benefit of an ICO to have immediately you have a marketplace for miners because you have all these people who paid to get coins. So now you already have trading back and forth. You have established value. But that's one of the things that like Zcash is missing. They have no liquidity and they have all this hype. So it's just going to be a fucking crazy market of people fighting over like 1,000 coins within the first month, or and it's going to be hilarious to see how that plays out. But we have 2 years of value from trading, and a very healthy chart and like established value and use cases. And also, like you were kind of saying, or Julian, you were saying, it's like the holders of the coin, like are what bring a lot of the value to. And you can say like Ethereum holders are very they're very active participants. Like a lot of them probably, have moved their ETC since getting the ICO, or like, well, and also the miners are forking quite regularly for upgrades. So like people are participating actively, where you have other coins that are just all sitting on an exchange. But like I think we have a fantastic community in the Slack where you have very passionate crypto goers and people who are active in the development. Because like even doing the Jumbucks EE, the Ethereum edition, like we have gentlemen who are making a pool. Like they're already like building services. And I think he's probably choked right now because I think he's watching. But no, I'm pretty confident that like in terms of the economy of what we're doing, we have a lot of benefit over not just other Ethereum clones, but also Ethereum Classic. So it's very. But in regards to switching from Bitcoin code to Ethereum code, it's kind of funny. There are other Ethereum clones that are switching back to Bitcoin code, and one I think is switching to the Lisk blockchain or Lisk code base, so delegated proof of stake or something. So you're probably solving some problems that other chains are having. So.
And that's something we've been keeping a big, close eye on. The other sort of Ethereum-based coins haven't been doing so well. And a lot of that's because there's smaller networks and the initial code doesn't really work with smaller networks too good. So those are the issues that Julian's been addressing, and he's been working like an absolute monster addressing that.
Yeah, and that was kind of one of Bill's other questions, like with the attacks on other ETH clones and forks, as well as the attacks on the main ETH fork, what are you doing to prevent such attacks on your own chain? And I think we covered that fairly well. But I don't know, any last thoughts, Julian, on improvements and
yeah, for sure. I mean, ultimately, the what we're looking to, I guess, achieve in this this current phase is to get people aware of the new network that is going to be happening. So, that involves getting miners excited that there's going to be an Ethereum fork, and maybe they should plan ahead because the difficulty bomb is for Ethereum is going to hit next year. So as well as proof of stake. So they have vested interests in their mining equipment. So maybe they want to keep going and start mining our chain. Which would be good because we're looking for that proof of work security, which is the main thing, which provides the security for, you can make kind of changes to the code base, but, it can still be overwhelmed by, a large network that doesn't like you or something like that.
That's something to bring here as well, is that we've removed the difficulty bomb completely.
Yeah, so another thing too, is that, we do plan on being proof of work for at least a year, maybe even longer, but we're going to observe the network, see, if the network is healthy, whether we should just stay proof of work for even longer or move to some kind of hybrid proof of work or proof of stake network, and kind of observing how Ethereum moves to proof of stake as well. So, I mean, we've kind of, having been, proof of stake for a long time, we kind of know how that works. So, there are pros and cons to that, such as proof of stake kind of makes you more of a closed network. and other aspects too, such as, sometimes people don't want to move their coins, so you kind of lose the I guess the benefit, the benefits of active trading, actually, the benefits of actually using the coin too. So, people don't want to lose their stake age and stuff like that. So, being proof of work has the benefit that, there's nothing tying the coins down from being in a wallet. So people can kind of freely use them without, thinking, do I lose something if I actually move my coins?
Well, I think there's a lot to be said about proof of stake and proof of work, and we hear some ridiculous rhetoric from some people of proof of stake isn't the blockchain. It's like, I'm kind of the camp of like proof of stake is a permission blockchain, because you need someone to sell you the coin, so you need permission to participate. But in a very roundabout way, and I think we're doing a redistribution again. Like, we were proof of work for a brief period, then proof of stake. Now we're inviting people back into the network. So this is great for miners who don't want to make even an account at Bittrex. They just want to get coins in their own way with the way crypto people like to do what they do. So I'm excited. I'm working on a miner as well too, because I mined the first round with some script ASICs that I bought just to learn how, and now I'm building a GPU miner. So it's kind of cool stuff to really be, I guess, getting more active into crypto again, learning how to do these things. So
and I haven't been mining since sort of mid 2014, and I'm just putting together a rig as well for this. So looking forward to mining again.
Yeah, and so I guess mining being one of the fun things, but also Luke, you're kind of already looking at ideas for applications put on it. Like you already kind of have thoughts of how Whois is going to work out as a DApp.
Yeah, so that's obviously one of the big ones I'm thinking about. The proof of concept that we did on the existing Jumbucks blockchain, Whois, just sort of a proof of concept of how to do identity sort of service. We can do that a lot more efficiently and a lot better and a lot more decentralized with the new blockchain, and involving aliases and actually storing a lot more data on the chain. And then there's also just a lot of basic things I'm thinking about. We want to make a very developer-rich environment. So that means a lot of the things that I'll be working on early on aren't really standalone applications as such, but more so modules intended for developers to use to build more complex applications.
Yeah. Well, and you also do some development work on coins too. There might be some existing value moving onto the chain as well.
Yeah, so there's at least 2 existing coins that will be moving to the Ubiq chain. I can use one as an example, I guess. Psycoin will be moving across. It's another coin that I develop as part of my company. So that will have at the very least two smart contracts associated.
So yeah, basically, the other thing I do want to, so in terms of applications, something that our community likes to do is kind of like, I guess, do peer-to-peer gambling. So, well, not really gambling, but betting. So, and Ethereum smart contracts, allows us to have that, and maybe a built-in escrow as well, so that say 2 parties wanted to say bet on who wins Trump versus Hillary, then they can have a third party hold those funds and even take small percentage to be the arbitrator of that.
Yeah. Like tipping is already a big thing. Like Luke, I gotta say, like for a tip bot and a Slack, having it on chain was already kind of that was the proper way to do it. So many people are just doing their own database, having one wallet, and whenever you withdraw, that's how you handle it. But to have that sort of system in place shows that how you guys want to be building these apps. And what's the other thing? Oh yeah, the friendly. Oh, we lost Julian. Whatever. He's on.
He'll be back.
But no, like the Augur code base and even Genosis, that's all like there he is. The Augur and Genosis code base is all going to be open, and that's like the benefit of having the EVM being so similar, identical. But yeah, no, I'm already having an idea for a Blocktalk coin and kind of taking ideas from like look at Library. It's a purpose-built blockchain for that marketplace. Like yeah, they have the other part of it is hosting content, but you can do that on a general purpose blockchain quite easily. So it's and that was kind of one of my questions too, is why didn't you use Ethereum? But I think they were worried they were going to make too much transactional volume. But again, we're not sharing the chain with like massive dApps like Ethereum is. So yeah, we have the benefit of being small yet having an open framework to do all the same stuff again. So yeah, that's I guess already 3 coins that we can expect to see on the network at some point. And I'm gonna talk to another one now when I get back home. Like, I think you should be on Ubiq as well, because you know what, the overhead of owning your own chain now is just it's getting to be a bit ludicrous. So like you guys already do so much support in the space. Like you're both experts, I think, in your field of working with tokens and blockchains and the applications that pull from them. So I think there's a lot to be said for having a more dynamic service available now that will apply.
Yeah, I think we're going to be seeing a lot more of that, because there's a lot of use cases that better suit tokens than coins and maintaining a blockchain themselves.
Yeah. You there, Julian?
Yeah, so I kind of dropped off, so I don't know when if what I said came through before. Whatever.
You were talking about betting, and I kind of continued on with it about Augur and Genosis. So.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
But one thing you were playing around with was doing I don't know, magnet links or something. But there's so many different things you can do with this. Like you were trying to explain it to a couple people visiting the office here. It's just like, yeah, you can literally do anything. So, the sky's the limit, but we have a couple good projects in mind. So I know like once the chain gets swapped over, we could probably have a roadmap of what we're going to kind of plan to do and future innovations. But the other thing was crypto community cards. You can do digital assets like that, because anyone who's a fan of Jumbucks from early on remembers those packs of cards from 2014 of a lot of the famous people then. So there'll probably be a new edition of those. So in addition to the network, we'll have some physical goodies, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
Just gotta, when Curl watches this, he'll be kicking himself again, knowing he hasn't been doing his job. But no, I think we could tie that into the new chain really easily, and that's really what it comes down to. Is this chain is built to be worked with,
and not just by us either, but any developer can build stuff on it. So yeah, we should be seeing a lot more innovation taking place.
For sure. Let's see if I got any more questions here. Well. Hey, Julian, what do you think a smart contract is? Can you explain it in your own words? Your words, please.
It's a bit long-winded. So I guess the smart contract, it's similar to, I mean, like at a lower level, a lot of things that in Bitcoin currently can be considered smart contracts, such as multi-sig and check lock time verify, where with check lock time verify you have additional opcode which says you can't touch your Bitcoins until this particular block. So smart contracts are basically an extension of that. So it allows you to have more complicated rules in place, which are, determined by the code. So you could say, you know, in the example of a bet or so forth, you could say, in this multi-sig contract, once we send to person X, then the middleman B gets, you know, 1%. So currently something like that is not possible with Bitcoin. But with you know, Ethereum smart contracts, it's something you can you know, program in. So it's basically, I guess, can be defined as you know, code that, you know, can be executed on the blockchain based on, you know, whatever's written in that contract. So, you know, there's some logic, and then it can work in a decentralized fashion.
Okay. What do you think?
So something like the DAO, you know, was like a massive smart contract, but, you know, there's lots of value in smaller smart contracts as well, which, you know, don't have security problems.
Well, yeah, once you get more complicated, it's like a contract that becomes really long. There becomes a lot more loopholes in it, or potential for loopholes.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's a lot of the fear too. Like, people say, what about what happened to the DAO? But, you know, that was like thousands of lines of smart contract code, and, you know, you can easily make mistakes there. Whereas, you know, there are tokens, you know, being made with, on the networks, and then there's actually, you know, a standard too with these tokens, so that, you know, the code is used and reused quite a lot. So, you know, people know that there's no security problems with them, because, you know, they're not overly complicated.
And this is one of the reasons why we want to focus on sort of supplying good modules for developers to use for creating contracts. Because some of these contracts are going to be quite complicated, but if we've already got proven, well-tested modules that they can slot in and use to solve certain problems, it's less likely there's going to be potential code that could have bugs in it.
Yeah, and with regards to DAO code, anyone watching should check out the channel below where the Wings interview, because they're kind of building their own block of DAO code, but also they're building a system for creating them and for interacting with them. So not only will it be a lot safer to produce them and have little issues, but also have a really easy means for not just, you know, technical people like us to interact with them, but for people within the normal world. The normal world. Yeah. But no, like I don't know, smart contracts. The definition of it is definitely something up for debate. Like, do you have a definition? I guess.
I tend to keep it pretty simple with just programs on the blockchain.
Yeah, I'm kind of in that same simple definition. Well, and I don't even say blockchain. I would just say it's an automated form of judicial action. So anything like a lawyer would do, or, you know, a notary would do, it's being done in an automated way, so without a human being.
But it's a lot bigger than that. You can do all sorts of stuff, even to the point of just like, a good example is a random number generator that has nothing to do with legal anything. It can be a smart contract. Although the big buzzword is smart contract, so it's impossible to change now. It's a very misleading term.
Yeah, I guess it's just, you know, decentralized code.
Yeah, exactly.
Decentralized libraries. And I don't know, libraries has its own connotations with it. But no,
yeah, I mean, what I see is, I guess a lot of people kind of, we kind of forget what we're kind of like here for, which is kind of like, you know, what makes Bitcoin different, which is you don't have, you know, it's decentralized, so you don't have the third-party involvement, such as banks. So, you know, essentially kind of be said that smart contracts is, you know, executing contracts which are without, you know, the intervention of third parties, such as, you know, you could be, you know, pass on ownership or something like that, you know, without saying the title party has to say this party owns this house or something like that.
Yeah, that's true. Like, because in my definition, you could say a script is a smart contract, or like, the thing that makes it smart, I guess, is the decentralized nature of it. So that's why I kind of say judicial, because it's like if it's legal for it to happen, then it will happen. So like when a lawyer puts out like a subpoena or something, or if that or a warrant goes out, like that's kind of like a contract in a way. It's like this is a legal claim to have some person brought to me. Well, like right now the current system allows for that to be enforced. Well, now you have the same sort of contract that is there, but the blockchain is what's enforcing it. So it's kind of an interesting concept, but it's hard to draw perfect analogies.
And that's where this technology sort of steering is, removing all the middlemen, making everything peer-to-peer, which is a lot more efficient and significantly cheaper in most cases.
Yeah, well, I got some big ideas, but I want to see what sort of building blocks are out there first, because the more complicated your idea gets, the more like you need to pull from all these different markets and concepts that have been proven before. So, Julian, was there any challenges, I guess, so far in developing the new code base, that, or even just in running a coin in general?
Yeah, for sure. I guess looking back, it's all very much a big learning experience. Challenges such as the ups and downs of the markets. I guess keeping people interested also, because the crypto itself has its own cycles of people like entering and leaving. So whereas people don't see it. Some people you'll find won't see it as long term as you do. So there's challenges in that. So you kind of can't really cater to. You have to kind of balance in long term traders and interests and investors with short term day traders, and then just people in general, such as maybe putting trust in certain people where you shouldn't have, that kind of thing.
So it sounds like it's very similar to running your own business in a way. Like you gotta, you can do it with your friends, but at the same time, like you go through rough patches, you really find out who your friends are, or like you find out who you can trust the most, and who's really in it for the long haul and is not in it for a quick buck, or who actually wants to build some cool shit.
Yeah, I mean it's a difficult thing, because it's you have a coin, but then you have to also kind of match up what you want to, I guess, the coin to represent, such as say fair distribution, or adequate ownership with the general public. So whereas the public's perception is sometimes if a coin doesn't have $2 million market cap, then it's irrelevant or something like that. But then in reality, it's you can kind of game a coin such that it has like a very high market cap, but is that the overall goal? And then do you, I mean, just general challenges like that.
I get it. Yeah. Well, so not too many technical issues. It sounds like you're fairly proficient with working with the blockchain and building various types of them, right?
Well, I mean, yeah, technical issues. I guess it's kind of mostly covered in this transition. I guess our main technical issue was that the proof of stake code base was kind of limiting. The general development cycles kind of make something and then put the changes out there. But then the challenge then is you have to tell people to adopt this new code base, which isn't something that's good for general development.
So any worries that the old chain is going to stay alive and be trading? We're just going to have Jumbucks and Ubiq be alive at the same time?
We're kind of going to be, I guess, shifting the old chain to, I guess, be considered as developer deprecated. So, you know, people can still run it if they want, but it's not going to be, and I guess people can choose to take that up to develop that chain, but it's not going to be something that is actively developed by myself and Luke.
Maybe we can ask Romano if he wants another chain. I asked Romano to come on, and he was a little worried about coming on. I don't know why. I think he thought it would be mean to him, but he'll come on the show soon enough. Because you got to find passionate people in this industry who are willing to keep working on these things. And like you've been on the same project, like you've never had another coin. Like if you wanted, like, you built a test net first. That's the thing. Like you're like, oh, this is kind of cool. Like, well, we'll figure it out, and we'll figure out how to transfer value from the old chain to the new chain. Like, didn't need to make all the overhead of another network like some of these other serial coin developers we've seen. So there's a lot to be proud of there, and a lot that I hope the people at home realize. But I'm gonna have no voice in a second.
Yeah, I mean, that's another one of the challenges too. Like we don't have a massive pool of developers who want to get involved in blockchains in general. Like there's not many developers out there.
Yeah, it's a dying breed. It's just that it's a new breed. It's evolution, right?
So I mean, we're kind of extending the invitation out there to any developers who want to get involved. So this stage is like, we're looking for developers, miners, investors. To just basically, it's open to get involved into the new chain Ubiq.
Yeah, no, I think we could probably try and figure out some sort of bounty system too. Like that's what's really cool about the smart contracts. You could post like a contest or something. Like, and we can be fairly transparent about it. But I guess have you guys played around with the Solidity code at all? Like, is it much different than what you're used to working with, or?
Yeah, we've done a little bit. We've deployed some test contracts, looked at some of the multi-sig stuff, but we'll be focusing on that. Once we get the secure network up and running, then we can just start innovating on the chain.
Yeah, baby steps.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I'm not sure we got any questions from the Slack. We got quite a few people in there that are usually pretty interesting. But no, we've been talking for about an hour and 10 minutes, 20 minutes here. I don't think Chris will be joining us, but Julian, you're a fan of the show. You know how we end this thing, right?
Oh, yeah. That's right.
That's right. Now I completely forgot what I guessed like 4 hours ago.
That's what I was just thinking.
But now we get two guesses. We get to like double down.
Yeah.
But we'll make Julian guess first. So people unfamiliar, we like to guess the price of Bitcoin in a week's time, and you know what? Maybe we'll even let people in the chat. Oh, there it is, right there. Okay, so me and Luke already guessed. You might as well jump in on this now too, Julian. Current price is 608, and we got a couple other guesses here if you can see that, or I guess your screen isn't working. We have 605 from Sebastian, 650 from Stas. Luke guessed 622. I'm feeling very bullish and say we're going to go up to 680. So, Julian, you feel like being somewhere in that 600 range, or are you being the bear?
I'm thinking it's probably going to go up, mostly based on upcoming news, which is, I guess, that scaling conference in maybe a few days. I think it's October 8th and 9th.
Ooh, it's a hell of a fundamental play.
So I'm guessing probably 625 region. Just another leg up kind of thing.
Make sure you're cutting in the middle on Luke. All right, cool. Well, you know what? This has been a good chat. We appreciate you coming out, Julian. We'll maybe hear from you again in another 2 years.
Yeah, I think that's my cycle every 2 years.
When you come back out your hole after doing programming, it looks like 11 on one of our other silent guests on the show. He's guessing 617. I'll add that on for you too. But I look forward to seeing what you do. And like I say, Blocktalk coin is going to be on Ubiq. We're going to do something cool. Me and Luke were already doing some business here. We'll figure it out. So I'll look for some announcements coming up shortly. And yeah, for the most part, thanks for tuning in.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone.
See you next 1,000 blocks.